As the goals and strategies of the HR function continue to evolve, so must the way we view HR service delivery. In a recent HCI webcast sponsored by Enwisen, Jason Averbrook and Wes Wu from Knowledge Infusion joined Barbara Levin, Enwisen's Senior Vice President of Marketing and Customer Community, and discussed the effectiveness of in-house multi-tiered models that result in better HR service delivery, with fewer resources and lower costs.
In terms of classic HR service delivery, I think that we've all probably seen slides that are very similar to this. So certainly, I would think that many of us are very familiar with the three concentric circles on the left side. I believe that this is the old David Ulrich model with the HR service center, the business partners, the centers of excellence, and the HR leadership team. And then on the right side, there is also a fairly traditional model of what the tiers of access would be as employees begin to have their conversations with HR. So tier 0 has traditionally been some sort of a direct access without human intervention. Tier 1 might be an HR service center. Tier 2 might be centers of excellence or deployed HR, but there's some sort of an escalation procedure for employee questions. The problem that we're seeing with this model is not in how it's executed, but really simply that this is an intake model for taking employee inquiries, employee questions and concerns, employee transactions. So this is a great execution model in terms of transaction processing, but it may not be the most effective model for what employees are needing from HR today. So the fundamental shift that we're seeing, again, is not about how HR is going to deliver, as we remember back to the Ulrich model, how is HR going to deliver the services, but really more around who are those services going out to, and how our customers would prefer to receive those services. The customers that we're serving, yes.
Hey, Wes, this is Jason. I'd love to jump in if you don't mind just for one quick second. I think that, one of the things that's really, really important about that is that, as Wes was talking about, the people that we're serving are much more workforce-related and much more used to using some of these technologies, which is where when you look at the technology piece, which we'll talk about in a second, tools like portals and things like that become so much more relevant. So, really important to tie in what Wes is talking about here from a service delivery standpoint to the reason that so many organizations today are investing in portals and technologies around portals.
And I think that as we look at all of the different types of technologies, and we'll do that shortly, and the different audiences and constituencies that we're serving, whether it's candidates, whether it's alumni, whether it's employees, whether it might be contractors and family, and then we also look at the multi-generational issues that we're facing with employees that may not be as familiar with direct access and employees who really prefer to do everything over direct access. We need to be able to shift how we're going to deliver those services, but more importantly, how employees, alumni, candidates are going to be receiving those services.
So when we think about service delivery, one of the mistakes that organizations have made over time is they've thought about it just from the standpoint of what the employee service center has been doing, and in a lot of cases have not thought about it from the workforce experience. The workforce could care less whether someone's in talent management on the HR side or whether someone's sitting in the service center. The workforce is looking for one single seamless spot to be able to do a lot of their tasks, just like they do on a day-to-day basis in the rest of the world. So when we think about that, what's really important to think about, and we'll just tie this back to the talent management framework really, really quickly, is if I look over on my left-hand side here, I see this business strategy and workforce planning, some high-level strategic tenets. As I look across the talent management sort of life cycle, I see acquiring, doing performance management, career and succession planning, capability development, All of those are key talent management processes. And what do those key talent management processes do? They lead us into project staffing and business results. So the reason we do all this stuff in the center is for overall optimal business outcomes. What a lot of people miss, though, is the fact that in order to execute these transactions in the center effectively, in order to get these things done effectively, I have to be able to view them in a single spot, and I have to be able to access them in a holistic process-aligned manner. And that's really where the talent management framework comes into play. So when you think about these tools, when you think about service delivery, don't just think about what the employee needs to do their benefit. Don't just think about what the employee needs to be able to change their address. Think about what the employee needs to actually be able to drive better business results. Because if you do that, ongoing investment in these tools and technologies is going to become much easier for you. The other thing that's very, very important to understand when you're looking at these talent management type processes is that in the center of this, what has happened over the last 10 years is we've gotten very good at automating each of these silos. And I'm sure that if every one of you could be talking to me right now, feel free to type it into your Q&A box if you want to. You would all say, yeah, we've done a little in succession planning, we've done a little in compensation, but when it's come to actually tying these across this way, what we have is we have a lot of best of breed or best of need solutions that produce reports individually. But when it comes to actually answering these questions up at the top here, what we don't have is the ability to do that because we have data sitting in multiple silos without any way to pull it together. So not only is the workforce experience compromised, but the overall experience of what is it that how am I able to get data and display data to managers across the enterprise is compromised as well. So our expectations have to shift from just HR transaction processing and inquiries into how do I start to look at talent management? How do I drive collaboration? How do I have a knowledge base? How do I integrate my portals and integrate information delivery to each other? Once again, the employees could care less how many places they go to. They want to go to one. If I go to Yahoo or Google, those are 160 to 170 servers behind the scenes pulling up data, all into one spot. If I had to go to 160 to 170 places, I would stop doing that.